So after traveling constantly for over 2 years, I've recently had the urge to slow down and to reassess things and put certain things in order. And it's been over 5 months, about 6 months now, since I took an international trip. And believe me, it's been strange to say the least. In this video, I'm going to share with you some of the reasons why I think digital nomads find it difficult to slow down or to reintegrate back into normal life like everybody else lives it. And I've had time to really crystallize my thoughts into some of the things I'm going to talk about. And I'm not saying this applies to everyone. I'm just saying that after my conversations with different nomads from across the world, friends, and having time to really think about the things that stopped me initially, I think these are the things that I think applies across board to everyone, including myself. So I'm going to share with you in this video. If you're watching this, so if you're listening to this on podcast, that's awesome as well. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well. If you have any questions whatsoever about the digital nomad lifestyle, make sure you hash them down in the comment section or leave them in the comments wherever you're listening to this. So let's dive right into it. So I began traveling in 2021, started with very short trips to Mexico. I started really within the United States and I went to Mexico, then I went further into the Balkans and Western Europe and whatnot, and I started to enjoy it. And the reason why I started initially was because of the thrill. I wanted some of the adventure. I still do. In fact, I consider myself a lifelong traveler because travel will always be part of my life. I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon. But I quickly found out, at least in the first 3 months, that I cannot and I will not be able to travel as fast as I want to, because after my first few trips, I realized that I got tired pretty often. I got exhausted, and I just didn't want to do as much planning as I thought I would be, or that my travels would require. So I slowed down a lot, and I find myself spending up to a month, 2 months, 3 months in different places, and I really enjoyed that. And I think that a lot of people, when they start traveling, will determine or will come to realize what their style of traveling is. A lot of people would choose to go every 2 weeks or every other day, go to as many countries as possible. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I just realized for myself that was not the case. I didn't enjoy that at all. And now let's talk about why a lot of people find it difficult, because when you do this for as long as I have, or the seasoned nomads out there have, you realize that the thrill and the adventure of being a digital nomad is really accelerating. It's almost like a drug, that you get addicted to. And just like any drug, it can be hard to get off of, to stop. It's going to affect you in a lot of different ways. So imagine yourself trying to withdraw from a hard drug that's gotten very addictive. I think that's what it is with the thrill and the adventure of being a digital nomad, because now your whole identity is attached to being this, person who travels everywhere, beautiful destinations every other week. And a lot of people want to see that, they look forward to that, or at least we think they want to. And it's hard for you to now say, hey, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm just going back home into my normal, regular life, and that's it. So it almost feels like we're losing a part of ourselves that we've gotten used to, or that we think people want to see. So ignoring that, it's going to be really hard. So I think that's the first reason. We get used to the thrill and the adventure so much that it's really hard to separate that from ourselves. Now, I think the second reason is because we don't understand what it feels like to be local anymore, especially if you live in the first world. If you live in the US, Western Europe, you realize that when you venture outside of those environments, it's a lot different from what you used to back home. It almost feels like you discover this new world that you almost didn't think existed, and coming back to the life you used to know is really hard, because now you're abroad, you're living for way cheaper. You're able to save more money. You're able to get great food, great everything really for much cheaper. Imagine being able to rent a penthouse apartment for a third of what you would rent it back home. That's something that you cannot quickly get rid of. I mean, you just get used to that you can get the same value back home. So the idea of becoming local again just feels very strange. It's almost very scary, because you're losing all of this benefits, all of this great life that you live in abroad, and you almost don't know how to live that old life anymore. So I think that's another reason why many digital nomads can't go back home or can't slow down or don't feel the need to slow down. The next one is forming bonds become a lot harder. So when you travel for any amount of time, you realize that you're meeting people every time, and these people are leaving after a few weeks or a few days. They're gone. And this is the norm. This is the routine every now and then. It happens again and again and again. Then your new norm becomes that you make friends with people through Facebook groups, couch surfing, WhatsApp groups, and you just meet up for a few drinks, you hang out a few times, and that's it. The next day they're gone. And this becomes your new norm. And you'll be surprised how fast it is that our body, our minds get used to new things. Some new neural pathways gets formed in our brains and becomes the new normal very, very quickly. So forming bonds when we get back home is not something we're used to. Our old friends, we don't understand them anymore. They don't get us because we have a whole new outlook on life. And so when you're coming back home, all your old friends, they become strangers. Your local environment, it becomes, you don't even want to stay there anymore because you don't understand all these people. There's almost like a reverse culture shock when you get back into your old, domain, your old environment, and everything just feels strange. So forming bonds with new people just becomes really hard, especially with old friends and old family and friends and all that. You almost become like this new person that they don't understand. So I think that's another reason why a lot of people find it difficult to slow down. Now let's talk about the big elephant in the room, and that is the focus on the thrill and the adventure that you enjoy out there, that you lose sight of what really matters. Now, I've had encounter with a lot of digital nomads where they start on this journey and they start traveling and everything is great. Maybe they save up a few $1,000s. They have some runway. The goal is to go out there, maybe start a business. They want to start a blog, a lifestyle business, something very good sounding. It sounds good to the ears. And then they get out there on the road and it just doesn't work out the way they want it to, the way they expect it to. And now the business is not taking off as they expected to. They're not making any money. And now they're running out of money. But they still want to enjoy the life that being a digital nomad affords them. You want to go on these thrilling adventures and all that. But you don't have the money to sustain that lifestyle. And ultimately, they have to go back home. And I've seen this happen so many times. And it's kind of sad when that happens. And what I see a lot of people do is, or what I see happens a lot of the time is, people focus on the thrill, the adventure, such that they lose sight of what really matters, which is how do you sustain this lifestyle? How do you make money? How do you keep your business going? I almost fell into this trap when I first started traveling because when I lost a lot of clients because I'm flying through many different time zones. I'm missing calls. I'm missing meetings. I'm not onboarding new clients. And very quickly, I realized that I'm not going to be able to sustain this if I don't focus on what really matters. And that's what I think most people lose sight of. They don't focus on what really matters, which is making money, being an adult, really, and just taking care of the things that needs to be taken care of in order for you to enjoy this life that you want to enjoy. So I see that happen a lot of the time, and it's really sad. But that's one of the very big reasons. Now, what should you do instead? We've talked about the problem, why people can't settle down, why they can't slow down or reintegrate. But this is how you should approach it instead if you want this to be a seamless process for you. One, you want to build friendships. You want to get out of the mindset of building friendships that don't last. And you want to build lasting friendships. And you can only do this by going to places where you feel comfortable in. A lot of people think you have to go to new places every time. But I'm saying that's not the case. You can go back to a country you've been to many, many times as long as you feel comfortable there. I've been to countries that I enjoy. I've been to different countries many, many times before. I have local friends there. I look forward to going back every single time. And there's nothing wrong with that. What that affords me is a life that I used to have, but now I can replicate that life abroad. I make local friends. I have local grocery stores that I go to. I have familiar faces around, familiar places around. I have a routine. And these are all things that makes life worth living. These are things that, we enjoy back home, and you can enjoy the same things when you're on the road. You don't have to keep changing, spots every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks because everybody else does it. But you can also create a travel plan for you that works for you. And that's one of the reasons, or that's one of the things that I do in this case. Now, like I said, you want to stay local for long periods of time. Consider traveling for 2-3 months at a time. There's nothing wrong with that. That way you create a routine, you cultivate friendships, and life becomes, more interesting again. Next, you want to detach yourself or your identity from your lifestyle. You're a digital nomad. You travel. Your lifestyle, your identity doesn't have to revolve around being a digital nomad. Quite honestly, I see people fall into this trap a lot. Oh, I'm a digital nomad. I travel, solo female traveler, male traveler, this and that. And when the traveling stops, everything about them stops. Their social media goes dark. They don't talk to people anymore. They can't even do anything without being this digital nomad or this solo traveler or, this adventure traveler, this luxury lifestyle traveler. So it really messes with you when you feel the urge to slow down, when you feel tired, when you feel burnt out, and you can't do anything about it. So don't fall into that trap. Always detach your identity from your lifestyle. They're two different things. You can have a life and you can also love travel. If you want to make a business out of it, then it's a different thing. But if you're not looking to make a business out of it, then do not attach your lifestyle to your identity. And finally, build a business. See, there's so many broke digital nomads or broke backpackers, and it's sad. And I see it all the time. A lot of people leave the comfort of their homes, and they go abroad to go live like a peasant. And I'm not saying this, and I say this with all due respect to anyone who's going through it right now, but I've seen it way too often, and it's really sad. You want to build a business while you travel. If you run a freelance business, it's great, but you cannot freelance forever. You have to think about ways to transition that business into something sustainable, something worthwhile that can give you some real income that can sustain you. What I see happen is a lot of times people travel abroad and they get used to this cheap lifestyle. Say they go to Thailand or Bali or South America, and they get used to eating $2 ramen or dollar taco on the streets of South America. That's fine. But if you decide to come back to the US or go back to the UK or wherever you think you're from, you're not going to be able to live like that. And that is going to be really hard on you and the people around you, seeing that you've lived all this life, you have all these experiences, but you can't afford the basic things. And so I say to people, no matter how far and wide you travel, no matter how much you enjoy the thrill and the adventure, always keep in mind that if you have to reintegrate, you still will have to bear the brunt of that. So build a business. For example, I see many people, build agencies while they travel. A lot of indie hackers, a lot of, people getting real remote jobs while they travel. You don't always have to start a business. You can start you can find a remote job that allows you to travel and also, keep your job and still make good money while doing it. And I think that is the best way to go about it, especially when you're just getting started. So, don't fall into that trap. Don't be that person who, struggles to reintegrate or struggles to afford a lifestyle when they come back home and they have to crash on couches and things of that sort. It's really embarrassing. And if you find yourself in that situation, just know that it's not the ideal lifestyle that you want to live. So these are the things that you should do, and these are the reasons why I think many people, many digital nomads, find it difficult to slow down, to reintegrate, and to come back home whenever they start traveling. I hope this hasn't offended anyone. I don't mean to, just the things that I've been able to, think about while I've been slowing down, and hopefully this resonates with someone. If it does, make sure to subscribe. If you're listening to this on podcast, make sure to hit the follow button, leave your review, comments. Everything is welcome. I appreciate that. Again, my name is Daniel, and I will talk to you in the next one. Take care now. Bye.